everyone, Jen here, and I am excited because I wanted to give you all a quick update about some of the things that are happening with InterVarsity at UC San Diego. And so I have a few things I wanted to chat about today, and one of them is a new large group series we've been going through. So for those of you who are more familiar with our ministry, we always have our Wednesday night events. They usually host anywhere from 1 to 200 students who come out and hear someone speak about something about God. They worship together and have a time of response. And so recently we've been doing a series that we've called Beautiful, and we've been talking a lot about what is beautiful and what does it look like that Jesus wants to make our lives beautiful and do beautiful things in our lives and in the world around us. And so I had the privilege of speaking on Wednesday last week. I specifically talked about the woman who breaks an alabaster jar at Jesus's feet, and was able to kind of share a bit about what it looks like for Jesus to do beautiful things in the midst of what we might feel like in our lives is a mess. And actually the only way to be an authentic relationship with Jesus is to be our messy selves and bring that to Jesus so he can redeem the places that need to be redeemed, and so that he can also point out the ways that we might think look messy because culture says our lives look messy, but actually are a piece of the kingdom of God and what his kingdom looks like. And so those are some things that were really exciting that I got to share about. And last week was the large group was really fun. I ended up sharing some old relationship stories in my life that were pretty entertaining. So students got a kick out of that, and I had a lot of fun speaking and sharing. And it was really exciting because one of my freshman students, her roommate ended up coming to faith that night. And so it was a real privilege to see them sitting next to each other and see her raise her hand to say yes to following Jesus. She grew up in a Christian home, but hadn't made any type of decision to follow Jesus for herself. She kind of viewed it more as it was her family thing versus it being her thing. So she decided to follow Jesus herself for the first time. So it was a huge privilege to be a part of that story, especially because I know her roommate really well. And I got to see her raise her hand in a group of 100 or so students. So it was really exciting and really fun. And so we have a few more weeks of that. If any of you know my co-staff worker, Darren, he's going to be speaking and finishing up our series, and then finishing up the school year. After that, we have a senior night, and so that should be fun. But we have 3 more official weeks of school left, and then students go into finals. So that's kind of like where we are in the quarter. And we'll still do a few things during finals week, but a lot of the bigger weekly things that we have are the next 3 weeks. So even though a lot of schools are getting out now, we're still going strong. One of the things that I'm really pushing, and one of the teams I work closest with, which is our Freshmen ministries, I'm really excited because I am pushing a lot of those students and encouraging them to do calls to faith in their small groups before the year ends, because for a lot of them, they have non-Christians or culturally Christians who've never made a decision for themselves in their small groups, and also are some of their small group members' friends. And so they've been doing a lot to try to help those students all year really think about and explore what a relationship with Jesus could look like for them. But a lot of them haven't made decisions to follow Jesus yet, but are right on the brink of it. And so if you guys could all be praying, I'll include it I'm going to share some prayer requests at the end of this video. But one of my prayer requests I have is if you could pray for those students, that God will prepare their hearts for these calls to faith, that some of our leaders, including some freshmen, our freshman leaders, are going to be doing calls to faith in their small groups between now and the end of the year. That would be great. Also, at the end of this video, after my prayer request, I'm going to share a little story about one of our students who did a call to faith in a small group this past week, and kind of his experience with how that was for him. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys later. But what else do I want to talk about? Hold on, I have a list here. Let me find it. I also wanted to talk about Oh, another cool thing that's happening, kind of going off of the beautiful idea, is I've had the opportunity recently. I think I told you all about my trip to New Orleans. If you are interested in hearing more about that, watch one of my past videos. But basically, I've been had the privilege of interacting a little bit more with our national evangelism department. If any of you know me really well, I love evangelism. I love seeing tearing down barriers that keep people from having a hard time meeting Jesus for the first time. And I love that sort of thing. It's so fun to me. And so one of those barriers, I think, is awkward conversations. A lot of Christians have a hard time talking about Jesus because the conversation feels awkward. A lot of people who aren't Christian yet and are maybe interested in Jesus also have a hard time because it feels awkward. And so one of the ways with InterVarsity that we like to kind of help that awkwardness not happen and teach people what it feels like to have authentic conversations about Jesus working in their lives is through what we call proxies. And they're anything from, we'll have big posters that we'll put on main walkways on campus with Bible scriptures, fun conversation starters. If any of you know our four circles diagram where we share the gospel, we'll place that there. A lot of different things like that. But we also have what we call pocket proxies. So basically what I just described, but in the form of a little like note card that's maybe about that big, a little bit smaller than a piece of paper. And so I'm helping starting to brainstorm a potential proxy that we might end up doing that is around the idea of beauty and maybe Instagram or other social media places, really thinking about what does culture view as beauty, and then what do we as Christians view as beauty, and what does Jesus view as beautiful. So it goes really along well with our series that we're going through, so I've been really excited about it. So it's something that's kind of in the works, may or may not happen, but I've been having a lot of fun kind of exploring that with some of the people in the evangelism department. So I'll keep you guys updated with that. If you could be praying for that in any of the ways God might want to speak to this current culture of students through those things, that'd be really cool. So yeah, that's some cool stuff happening there. What else do we have going on? Yeah, we are headed up until the end of the year. And so we are prepping for, okay, we have seniors graduating. How do we help seniors transition out of our ministry into churches and church small groups and that sort of thing? And the transition's always tough. I think almost every senior I know who's graduated, it's been a tough transition in one extent or the other. And so if you guys could all be praying for them, that would be great. But there's some exciting things too. Some students are having jobs coming right out of college, or really envisioning what does it look like to bring Jesus and what I've learned through my experience with InterVarsity. Not to just be something I learned in college, but for that to influence my future work life and my future family life and those sorts of things. So that's exciting too. And speaking of transitions and sort of seniors graduating, what's happening there, we actually just hired a new staff worker at UCSD. And so I just thought it'd be fun to announce that and share that here. But I don't know if any of you know Rachel Gustav. She is technically a junior, but she's graduating early. And she was just hired a few weeks ago as a staff worker. So she's headed into her fundraising year. And, all of you know from experiences with me, fundraising has its ups and its downs. And I'm really excited for her, though. I think she's going to do great. And I think she's going to have a lot of support and people. I'm encouraging her and supporting her. She has, in our ministry, all her student years, been really involved in our homeless impact and urban impact teams on campus. And so a lot of going to downtown San Diego and shuttling students down to downtown San Diego to serve the homeless and share with them why Jesus cares about the homeless, share with both Christians and non-Christians what that means and what that looks like. And then this year working with City Heights Coffee House and some of the outreach that they do to the homeless and refugees in that area and bringing students along there. So she's really great because as a person, I think she really thinks about the evangelism on campus and what God wants to see done in the mission on campus, but also how that impacts the whole of San Diego and the whole of the world, and knowing it doesn't just stop here in this one setting, but goes even farther than that. So I think she's going to be a really great addition to our team. She's going to bring a lot to students, and I'm really excited for her. I've known her and had the privilege of mentoring and discipling her to some extent through her time in college, and I've love her and was so excited when she started processing with me if staff was an option. And so I'm really pumped that she's was hired and is going to be one of the new staff workers on our campus. And I'm really excited to work with her. So you guys be praying for her. That'd be awesome. So yeah, I think those are the general events. It's not like a long video as far as things, but I want to save some space for a bigger piece of the video at the end. But before I get there, some prayer requests. One is be praying for those calls to faith in small groups and also large group settings. We're getting up towards the end of the year, and we have a lot, and it's one of the things that's really unique about InterVarsity, especially at UCSD. We have a lot of students who aren't Christian in our community, which is amazing. We love that we have that. And our hope and dream is for them to have the space to explore Jesus and eventually make a decision to follow him themselves. And so I'm praying, and if you could be praying with me, I would love to be praying for those students who've been exploring all year to make decisions to follow Jesus before the school year ends. God knows his timing, and so I know that he has a different plan for everyone. But one thing that we have noticed is when students, when summer hits, especially if a student doesn't stay in the San Diego area over the summer or goes back home to unhealthy family rhythms and things like that, it can really mess with where they were at in their exploration with Jesus. And so if students can make decisions to follow Jesus before that hits, then they can get a lot of the resources and support that they need to really keep growing and understanding what life with Jesus looks like, even while going back to difficult situations. And so you could be praying for all of our students who aren't Christian, who are part of our ministry, that the Lord would work in their hearts to help them make decisions to follow Jesus sooner than later would be really awesome. And only God knows the timing with that. But also praying that our students would have the courage to take the risk to invite students to follow Jesus and figure out what those barriers are and help them get through those barriers and that sort of thing. I think that would be great as well. Also be praying for seniors graduating, the different transitions that happen in church world and getting new jobs, and the stresses of graduation and the financial stresses of what am I going to do with this much funds or with this little funds post-college. If you could be praying for them, that would be awesome. And then lastly, I wanted to ask for some prayer for personally. I personally have been honestly exhausted recently. I've been doing a lot more. I've had a lot more responsibilities in my personal life and work life with InterVarsity, just a lot more responsibilities than I normally would have this time of year, and it's started to take a toll on me a little bit the past couple days. I've been pretty exhausted, and so I, it's temporary and it'll end soon, and I'll get some time to take off and really recoup and things on a physical scale, but also spiritually and stuff. But I could just really use some prayer in feeling rested and energized to really continue ministry happening towards the end of this school year. I wanted to ask if you have any Bible passages that have really stuck out to you in times of high stress and anxiety, times in your life, whether that's work transitions or things like that, or work, times where you've been able to turn to Jesus and him help you through work stresses or personal transition or stresses as well, and family and things like that. If you have any Bible passages that have really stuck out to you during those times, just personally, I would love to hear those. If you could just text those to me or messages to me, I would love that. Things are going well. It's not things are going bad. I'm just feel a little tired and exhausted recently and probably need some prayer for some rejuvenation to really get through the rest of the year impassioned and excited about everything God's doing, and feel a little bit rested in the midst of that. And so I could use some personal prayer with that a bit. That would be great. But speaking of things exciting happening, one of my favorite moments recently, and this is, I'm going to transition us to a different video, but one of the things that has been most exciting recently, as I told you all, I've been really encouraging specifically the freshman Bible study leaders, the students who lead the freshman Bible studies, to do calls to faith in their small groups. And so one of our students, Jacob, he is a sophomore who leads a freshman Bible study in Muir College. For all you UCSD Muir College alum out there, you'll appreciate this. But he decided to do a call to faith in a Bible study that he leads in Muir College. He decided to do a call to faith in this Bible study. And in this Bible study, it was him and a couple other leaders, but the rest of the Bible study was for students who are either not Christian or come from a maybe culturally Christian background, but wouldn't necessarily say they're currently like all in or following Jesus really. And so he gave a call to faith in that space, and his story is really exciting. And so I'm going to put his video at the end of this one and give you guys a chance to see a little bit of what happened there. So enjoy that video and that story, and I will see you all later. Bye.
Hi, my name is Jacob Martinez. I'm a freshman Bible study leader here at Muir College at UCSD. And this past week, I hosted a Bible study and a call to faith for my Bible study students. And this week, I experienced something kind of out of this world. It was crazy. I had my whole Bible study raise their hand in solidarity with each other as like a symbol of coming to faith. We read the story of Philip and the Ethiopian, and I had them kind of reflect on it for a while and distinguish whether or not they felt like they were the Ethiopian and wanting to, learn more about Jesus and like learn the truth, or if they felt like they were Philip and they wanted to like let other people know about their potentials with Jesus. But I had them all here, and we were praying, we were already in this time of reflection, and it was after Tell Your Story night, so there was 4 of them there, and they had each told like a brief 2-3 minute story about themselves and about their journey to faith. And I think it really opened up the space to be vulnerable with each other and not feel like awkward or anything with the people that are there talking about Jesus. And so yeah, I hosted a call to faith, and I kind of just made it clear that like this is a symbol that like everything's not going to change all in this instant, but it is a sign that you're willing to work towards something and being in a closer relationship with Jesus. And all 4 of them raised their hands and kind of just like fully accepted this message that I was telling them. And it wasn't even just me just telling them. I feel like it was God that was kind of reaching out to them in this moment. And like I put forth the image of that God is reaching out his hand for them, and that it's always there whether or not they're ready to take it or not. And I think they all kind of came to terms with it with themselves, and they decided that like, yeah, now is a good time to raise their hand. They felt like they wanted to learn more about the truth and learn about how they can grow closer with Jesus. And I just saw God working in so many different ways there. It makes me really proud as a Bible study leader that like, I'm not doing these things just to take up time in my schedule. Like it has a real impact. And like, I'm hoping that when I follow up with these people even more, that I kind of gain an insight on how much this means to them, whether or not they felt like they are pressured into it, or if they feel like this is something they truly believe and like they want to keep taking steps towards. So yeah, I'm really proud of my Bible study, and I'm really proud of like their commitment, and just kind of the things that God is doing on a small level here, but in such a big way. Yeah, that's my story. That's what happened.